So what about China? Do you invest much there? You go to China very much?
We've had two big investments. I was sitting in 2002 or 2003 reading the report of PetroChina, and fortunately it was in English, and I put about $500 million into PetroChina. The government of China owned about 90% of it. We owned 1.3%, so between the two of us, we controlled the company. And we made quite a bit of money out of that. It was a very, very cheap company. I mean, it was one of the huge oil companies in the world. The whole company was selling for $35 billion in the market, and that was ridiculous.
Now, one of your most famous investments is Coca-Cola. You bought it relatively cheaply.
It's very good for you, everybody.
Now, when you
I don't care whether you drink it, just pour it on your neighbor, but open the can.
Now, when you were a young boy, you were addicted, I was told, to Pepsi. How did you switch to Coke?
Well, I would like to say, of course, that I just finally grew up and understood. When I was a kid, Pepsi was 12 ounces for a nickel, and Coke was 6.5 ounces for a nickel. And if you have any insights into my personality, you'll know which I bought.
So, of the investments you've made over the years at Berkshire Hathaway, which one would you say was the single best investment? Is there one that you really are most proud of?
Well, the one I'm probably the most emotionally attached to is Geico because of a bunch of reasons, but it goes back to a day in January of 1951, a Saturday, and that what Lorimer Davidson did for me changed my life, and he didn't have to do it. I mean, I walked in there as some 20-year-old kid on a Saturday, and he spent 4 hours educating me, and then he became a friend for life, and then subsequent people are Jack Byrne and Tony Nicely, who's here tonight. I mean, it's just been a wonderful association, whether we made any money or not, but we've done pretty well on the investment too. But beyond that, it has a special meaning to me.
Are there investments that you really wish you had never done? What's your worst investment?
I made a lot of terrible deals, and the worst. It's hard to. Probably the worst deal will be one I make in the future. But the current title, I bought a company, and incidentally, I did it. I mean, we do not have PowerPoints around or people explaining this stuff to me. I just go out and do them. And we bought a company called Dexter Shoe. George Mitchell's here tonight. He knows the company. And we paid $400 million for it, which went to zero. But we paid $400 million in stock. And the stock we gave up is probably worth maybe $3 or $4 billion today. So whenever Berkshire goes down, I feel better about that deal.
Wow. I mean, what about the deals you passed on? You famously passed on Intel when it was getting started, I thought. And other...
Yeah, I knew Bob Noyce pretty well, and we bought it. We bought the converts when they were private, just because of Bob. We bought them at Grinnell College, and the endowment of Grinnell College went from $8 million to $1 billion in about 12 or 14 years. So, and Intel was a help on that. But in the end, I don't worry about things I don't understand. I mean, I think it was Tom Watson Sr. said, "I'm no genius, but I'm smart in spots, and I stay around those spots." Right. And there's a lot to that. And knowing your circle of competence is where that perimeter is enormously important. And the fact that there's all kinds of things I can't do, and there's plenty of companies I can't analyze, but I don't have to worry about that.
Of all the companies you bought, maybe the one that brought you the most trouble was Salomon. When you bought it, at one point it was almost, in effect, put into bankruptcy, and you had to go and run the company. Was that the most difficult experience you had at Berkshire Hathaway?
I would say that probably was, yeah. I was there as CEO for 9 months and 4 days, and it was 20 years ago, and I think I remember every day of it.
So today, when you have all these managers running your 75 different companies, do they call you every day and say, "I got this problem or that problem," or how often do you talk to them?
No, if they need to call me, they're in trouble. We buy businesses where the managers come with them, and there are some managers that I don't talk to once a year, and there's one I talk to almost every day. After the one that I talk to almost every day, I would say the highest frequency would be maybe once a week. But they always call me. I don't call them.
Now, when you want to make an investment, you have a board of directors. Do you ever ask them? I've heard that you will buy a railroad for 20-some billion and not tell your board of directors.
I told a few of them.
A few of them, okay.
That was an exception. That I told them, not that part of why we're able to make deals is because we can act fast. They know we have the money. They know we'll do the deal. We closed on October 6th, 2008, on a $6.5 billion investment in Wrigley in conjunction with Mars. And they knew we would have the $6.5 billion and that we would close on that day. People weren't closing on anything. And so it's a real advantage to be able to pull the trigger. And if we have to go through lots of presentations and everything, I mean, I've been on 19 corporate boards, and you know, every deal works on the PowerPoint. You know, and so it's a show and tell type thing, and I don't really participate in it.
So recently came out in court discussion that in the insider trading thing that's going on relating to an investment you had made in Goldman.
Right.
It came out that you had set the deal and you told the investment banker this is the deal, and they had to get back to you, but you said don't call for a few hours because you're going to Dairy Queen with your grandchildren. Is that right?
That's true.
You didn't want to be disturbed on a deal?
Well, I knew what I would do, and I told them what I would do. And if they wanted to do it, fine. If they didn't want to do it, fine. I mean, we don't really negotiate at Berkshire. It's just I don't have enough time, you know, to spend the rest of my life, you know, negotiating with people. So I tell them what I'll do, and if it works, fine. If it doesn't work, fine. Then